Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This Green Bay, Wisconsin, that was a kind of a tribute to Mr. Kennedy, was an okay show. Sorry, there's something I forgot here. But you know what? I can say this. The WWE is really trying hard to promote Daniel Bryan. They are really giving it their best. They got 2 weeks before this match is about to happen. So what do we get? The beginning of the show, we got Vince with Bryan trying to put him over as corporate. And then Bryan just being dressed, decked out, all chic with that beard. The person I felt that got the short end of the stick here was Wade Barrett. I don't understand why they even put him in there. I just feel sorry for him. Maybe it's because he used to be part of NXT. I guess that's the reason. I just feel sorry for Wade. But this was meant to put over Daniel Bryan, which it did. Daniel Bryan is anti-corporate. So he's fighting against Vince, and Vince was angry as hell. So we get a match. Later in the night, The Shield versus Orton, Bryan, and Cena. The Cena segment in the middle of the show, and it did happen, wasn't bad. It spotlighted all three of them because Orton came out, then The Shield came out, then Bryan came out. But it did spotlight Bryan the most. The match itself wasn't too bad, but there was no winner. They just rang the bell. They didn't say disqualification or count out, nothing. They just stopped it. The person that looked the most dominant to me was Orton. The only reason I'm saying Orton now is because no matter who wins, Orton is going to be the one that's going to have to deal with them. Now, seeing Bryan get the powerbomb after that still could mean Bryan could win. Do I believe personally that Daniel Bryan is going to win this? No. I don't believe one iota that Daniel Bryan is going to win against Cena. Not one bit. If it's going to be good, fine. But the way they're structuring this, they're putting this as a shoot and a work. We know Vince doesn't like smaller wrestlers. It's very rare for him to accept such smaller wrestlers, particularly from ROH or TNA. He considered them second-rate wrestlers. He does. Seeing this, what Vince did early in the show, just makes it clear he doesn't like them truly, and he decided to incorporate this. In the end, it's going to be a question of not if Daniel Bryan is going to win or not. Eventually, he's going to get the title. If it's not from Cena or Orton or someone else, he'll eventually get it. The point is, will it help the business? People want him, but does that mean he has the staying power? He's hot now, but I just don't know. So moving on to ADR and RVD. I'm not going to talk about the match. It wasn't the matter about the match. We know RVD wins. The point is Ricardo Rodriguez has now been knocked out of the show again by ADR because of the bucket. And now, I'm sure, before the match comes in SummerSlam, we're going to have Christian versus RVD versus ADR. The question is RVD that important to the WWE to become relevant enough to get the title? Now, Christian will probably be a better match. I know not many people care about Christian, talking about one more match, but in the end, do you want to see RVD the winner? I know Mr. Ralph or Mike, who doesn't do reviewing anymore, he doesn't like Christian. But seriously, you want to see RVD? I just don't see it happening very well. It's going to be a question of what's going to happen next, which I'm talking about, which is Damian and Cody Rhodes. Cody Rhodes, who got over on Damian Sandow on SmackDown last week, which I didn't watch. I can say this. I'm more interested in that match than most of the matches that are going to be on SummerSlam. I'm sorry. These are two young talents that's going to go somewhere. Seeing that Cody managed to fish out the Money in the Bank briefcase, beat up Damian, and then has the contract in his hand, I don't know if they're going for the contract. The only thing that Cole talked about was simply there's going to be a match at SummerSlam between Damian and Cody Rhodes for ending of their feud. They ain't going to end the feud. And particularly now the contract is back, does that mean whoever wins is going to get the contract? That's the question mark I asked and stated the last time we talked about this, ladies and gentlemen. Will they be going for Money in the Bank contract here? Or will they not? There's a question. Right back Mark Henry. I'm going to make it short. Mark Henry, dominant. I don't know if he's a face or heel, it doesn't matter. He still looks relevant and dominant. Ryback is a piece of shit. If they're trying to do Ryback and Mark Henry again for SummerSlam or afterward, it's stupid. Because there's nothing there for Ryback. Unless they turn him face again to go back to Feed Me More instead of Ryback Rules, maybe in 5 or 6 months he could be built back up from that. But at this moment, he's done. And it's a waste. Next match, which is CM Punk versus Curtis Axel. Now, these segments for interviews for both sides were actually pretty good. Brock wasn't bad. Heyman really stated it pretty well. I'll explain about Heyman in a minute. CM Punk sounded the best out of them all. The match itself was okay. But there was no clear winner, just like the Cena, Orton, and Bryan matches versus The Shield. There was no clear winner, which is fine. I'm glad this wasn't a clear winner compared to The Shield because The Shield is really irrelevant. And I'm going to try and remember to talk about The Shield. I got to mark this because there's something I got to say about The Shield at the end of this review. Because there's something that's important to say about them. But seeing that the best versus the beast is still being well done is good. I was not bored of the attack by Brock Lesnar. I was not bored of the attack of CM Punk. Seeing CM Punk get the scrawny hands around and Paul Heyman go, hell, hell, hanging his arms like that was actually quite good. It wasn't great, but it was good. Curtis Axel, I knew was going to eat defeat. He's basically jobbing right now. When this part is over, hopefully I'll continue building for him. I don't know what's going to happen. Maybe I'll do some on Curtis Axel later. But right now, I'm just saying that he's jobbing for a CM Punk. I'm interested in this match. I don't know if it's going to be great or not. It counts on how both perform in the ring. And I believe they do good. And it's also going to count on how Paul Heyman interacts. Now, the Christian versus Slater match. Only reason I'm talking about it is that RVD, ADR, and Christian are going to be involved. Too long of a match, and Christian wins. End. The Kofi versus Fandango. A jobber versus Mick Carter. Good to see Kofi. Pants look funny. But he does win over a Fandango. Fandango was supposed to be slated to be something more, and he's not. So that's kind of sad. They were trying to push him, but now he's become a glorified jobber. Think of Robbie E. from TNA. This is what we got with Fandango, but just a step above that. Because Fandango's a little bit better easily than a Robbie E. So I'm going to leave it at that. Now, the Usos versus the Real Americans. Knowing that a Jonathan Uso, or Fatu, or that's Jimmy Uso, is involved and is going to get married to a Trinity McCoy, which is Naomi Knight, the woman I love. I said this in my Totals Divas review. If there was an equivalent of a Trinity McCoy, she doesn't have to have a big butt. She doesn't have to have big breasts. But something like her. I love the hell out of her. Seeing this, I want to see Trinity McCoy happy. And seeing Jimmy Uso get his butt handed to him by a Antonio Cesaro doesn't make me feel good, because simply I don't want to see my Trinity McCoy, my Naomi upset. I'm kind of torn, but I have to see it for what it is. Right now, we only have how many teams? You got the Wyatts. I'm sure they're making the Wyatts into a tag team. You got Tons of Funk. You got the Usos. And Real Americans. Four. Not counting the Shield. Not counting them. Those are the only other teams we got next to the Shield. And the Shield right now has become so irrelevant. I'm sorry. I feel that in the end, we have a problem here that they must drop those belts. Now, to who? My feeling is that the Wyatts will get the belts next. But there may be a transitional champions before that. So my guess is if it's not real Americans, it's going to be the Usos. Because they're the only other people that would be best for the Wyatts to take him off. My guess would be the Usos because they're the most oldest team. They're as polished as they're going to get. And they do deserve the titles because they haven't had them at all. So I'm going to move on to Tongues of Funk and the Wyatts, who have been promoted so well. And a Brad Wyatt, who basically looked dominant once the match was over. And it was Tensai who jobbed. Tensai grew in a full beard now. I think beards are becoming very popular. Fear the beard? The beard is here? Damn. But seeing a Bray Wyatt get over on a Brodus Clay and then seeing him look dominant was great. I enjoyed it. Seeing a Kane on the Titantron say that I'm going to get you at SummerSlam in a Ring of Fire makes me think an Inferno match is coming in a possibly Bray Wyatt's future. But I still have this feeling, I'm probably wrong, you guys tell me below, that Kane may join the Wyatts. You basically have one group who has a message of destruction, domination, and viciousness against a guy who is total viciousness, dominant, and destructive. They got to come together eventually. It's not going to be now probably. It'll be later in the year probably. Maybe by December. But it's obvious that these two groups are going to come together. They need someone who's more experienced and more of a seasoned veteran to really help them get over. So Kane would be the best person. I really believe that. So I'm really hoping for that. But you never know. Now, the Caitlyn versus Layla match. I don't fucking understand. You guys can tell me, but didn't almost 6 months ago, 8 months ago, didn't Layla and Caitlyn have teases of an actual feud? Tell me if you guys weren't interested in seeing a Layla and Caitlyn feud. Someone entirely new that we haven't seen in a long time become a heel that would go after someone who's the up-and-coming babyface. Now, seeing her with AJ, and I didn't watch SmackDown again, I just saw the snippets of her prancing away and skipping away with AJ, is stupid. AJ should not be interjected in this. Layla should have already had this shot months ago. She should have had it. But we didn't get that. We got AJ being pushed into it. I believe AJ could have been left for now. And Layla could have been left then. Now we got Layla in this. What is she going to be, a sidekick to AJ now? Layla is much better of a heel than an AJ. But that's if she had a good gimmick. Lay Cool? Seriously? Who wants to see a Lay Cool move with a... I wish they gave Layla just a basic, straightforward heel. Why go back to perfection? Why go back to flawless? You need Michelle McCool for that with Layla. Not Layla by herself. It just doesn't feel right. To me personally, I want to see her have a totally different thing. And then seeing the match itself where she was basically acting like a total chicken shit throughout parts of it, totally turned me off. I love Layla L. I love Layla. If there was no Trinity McCoy, if there was no Naomi Knight, I would have gone for Layla. If Layla was in front of me and said, "You want me?" I would get on my knees and pray to the Great Spirit and say, "Thank you very much." I found Native American faith. But not Christianity. But taken away from that, I would get on my hands and knees and pray and thank you. But not like this. This bullshit. It sucked. So, the last thing I want to talk about is the McMahon family. What does this mean for us? Seeing Vincent Kennedy McMahon getting pissed off that Daniel Bryan refused to shave his beard and make him look stupid. And basically beat the shit out of a Wade Barrett. Which I already said is sad that you see Wade Barrett like that. I don't know if I did, just in case I didn't. Seeing Wade Barrett like this sucked. I'm sorry. What does this mean? Does this mean by Survivor Series we're going to have a match between a Triple H and a McMahon? Or we'll have a McMahon who is going to have a stand-in for him? Maybe a Brock Lesnar? You never know. My feeling is that there's going to come to a head between these two heads. And either one of them is going to come out on top, or maybe Stephanie will take a power grab over them both. Maybe she'll be put in position by the board. You never know. So how do I rate this show? I could give this a B rating, but I'm going to give it a B- rating. For the simple fact that it's good with Cody and Damian. RVD being interjected into the title scene does not fill me with a lot of joy. We do not want to see RVD. We want someone else, unless it's a transitional type of thing. The Wyatts are great. Kofi and Fandango really didn't care that much. But the person here that was most spotlighted next to Daniel Bryan was Orton. So I say a B rating. But B- rating, I'm sorry. A B- rating. Just a little bit step down from a B. It could have been better. So I hope you enjoyed the Zane's View, and subscribe and comment to my channel. I may be doing a debate of the week on what's going on in TNA or on WWE, what's going on with Daniel Bryan. I may combine them both. I don't know yet. Or I may just do two separate ones, because that would make it a lot better. So you guys have a good day.